poor cleaning lady whispered to the millionaire, CEO, don't sign this. What happened next shocked the entire company. Before we begin, let us know in the comments which city you're watching from. And once the story ends, don't forget to rate it from 0 to 10. Enjoy the story. He was about to sign the biggest contract of his life when a janitor walked in, bent down beside him, and whispered, "Don't sign. It's a trap." Everyone else in the room kept smiling. But David Miller, billionaire, CEO, trusted by millions, dropped his pen. And in that one moment, he realized the only person telling the truth was the woman the world didn't see. The whisper, Chicago, 9:15. The air inside the 27th floor boardroom was still, almost reverent, like the city outside knew something historic was about to happen. David Miller, CEO of Miller Technologies, sat at the head of the long mahogany table. His pen hovered just inches above the signature line. The merger with Sterling Corporation would make headlines by noon. Billions were at stake. His legacy was on the edge of ink. Leandro Vega, his best friend, co-founder, and partner for 15 years, sat beside him, grinning. Sofia Delgado, stunning as ever, stood by the window, arms crossed in quiet victory. Champagne glasses clinked in anticipation. The room held its breath. Then the door opened. She didn't belong there. Not in that room. Not in that moment. Ana Santos, cleaning cart in hand, pushed gently through the crack in the glass door. She wore her uniform like armor, eyes down, hair tied back, her badge read, support staff. No one noticed her, except him. "I'll just empty the trash," she said softly. She moved beside David's chair, quietly bending to lift the bin. Her hands brushed the side of the metal rim. Then, almost imperceptibly, she leaned close, just enough, so her lips reached his ear. Her voice barely a whisper. "Don't sign. It's a trap." David's fingers froze. The pen slipped from his hand and landed silently on the table. "What?" he mouthed, eyes wide. But Anna didn't look at him again. She lifted the trash, pushed the cart, and walked toward the exit like nothing had happened. Leandro leaned in. "David." Javier from Sterling tilted his head. "Everything all right?" "Mr. Miller." David stared at the contract. The air suddenly felt wrong, too thick, too rehearsed. "I need 5 minutes," he said abruptly. Standing, Leandro's face twitched. "5 what?" "I need to take care of something." He walked out the door without waiting for approval. Anna was halfway down the hallway when he caught up. "You?" he called out. She stopped, turned slowly. "Yes, sir." "With me," he said. His voice was low, but firm. They walked in silence until they reached the small break room near the stairwell. He held the door open. She entered. He closed it behind them. David turned to face her, arms crossed. His voice was steel. "Explain now." Anna didn't flinch. She still held the trash bag in one hand. "I know how it sounds," she said quietly. "But if you sign that contract, you'll lose everything." David narrowed his eyes. "What do you know?" "I overheard Leandro," she said, "and Sophia in the executive wing. They've rewritten parts of the deal, transferring your control to a shell company, one they own." He shook his head. "This is insane." "I have proof," she added. "Photos, screenshots, recordings." He stepped closer. "Who are you?" "Ana Santos, cleaning shift. 8 months, night crew." David studied her. "If you're lying, you're gone. Today, I know." She didn't blink. "But if I stay quiet," she said, "and you sign that paper, I won't forgive myself." He turned away, looked at the skyline through the break room window. The city below moved on, unbothered, but inside him, something cracked. This woman had nothing to gain and everything to lose. And yet, she spoke Why would a janitor risk everything to save a man she didn't know? Unless what she said was true. Chapter 1. The Trash Can Warning. The pen lay sideways across the thick, cream-colored paper, like a tiny piece of wreckage after a storm. David Miller hadn't moved in 30 seconds, but in his head, it felt like hours. He could still feel the warmth of her breath against his skin, soft, uninvited, haunting. Don't sign. It's a trap. One sentence. One woman. No one in that room would have thought twice about. And yet, his fingers had gone cold the second she said it. Across the table, Leandro continued talking something about closing figures and next quarter projections. The words passed over David like wind through glass. On his left, Sophia sipped her champagne slowly, watching him beneath her lashes. She always had that way of making him feel like she saw something no one else did, and maybe she still did. But today, something felt off. Not just the whisper, the air, the smiles. The celebration before the finish line. He hadn't even signed yet, and everyone was already acting like he had. David, Leandro asked, this time with a hint of edge. David blinked. I need 5 minutes. Leandro's grin faded just slightly. Now, yes. David stood. Javier from Sterling leaned forward. Mr. Miller, if there's a concern, we'd be happy to clarify. I'm not concerned, David said. Just need 5 minutes. He didn't wait for anyone's approval. He stepped out, letting the heavy door swing shut behind him. Anna was halfway down the marble corridor when he spotted her. Hey, he called out. She turned around, cart still in front of her, both hands steady. Sir, with me, he said. She hesitated just long enough to make him wonder if she would run, but she nodded and followed. They didn't speak again until the door to the small break room clicked shut behind them. David stood with his back to the door. She stood near the microwave, nothing but hums from the old refrigerator between them. Explain, he said finally. Now, Anna's voice was steady but quiet. They're not who you think they are. Who? Leandro, Sofia, Sterling. David's arms crossed. You're a janitor. I used to be more, she replied, eyes holding his. And I still remember how to read a contract. That made him flinch. Just slightly, she stepped forward, pulling something from the pocket of her gray uniform, a folded paper, edges creased from being hidden too long. I overheard a call last week, then another yesterday. I started looking at the trash, the shredders. Sometimes what people throw away says more than what they keep. She handed him a photo blurry, taken through glass, a document on a conference table with a name circled in red, Sterling International Holdings, post-merger transfer, 80% asset migration. David frowned. I've never heard of this company. You wouldn't have, she said. It's not in your version of the contract. You're suggesting they swap the documents. Anna nodded, and they'll switch them back once you sign. That's impossible. She met his eyes. Is it? David stared at her, jaw locked. He wanted to call her crazy, wanted to dismiss her, a janitor with conspiracy theories. But then again, she didn't look afraid. She looked resigned, like someone who expected not to be believed, but had to speak anyway. What's your name? He asked. Anna. Last name? Santos. He watched her carefully. You've worked here how long? 8 months. Night shift. David stepped closer. If this is a lie, if this is some game, then fire me, she said, without blinking. Ruin me. I already have nothing. That stopped him. The room was still again. Only the faint hum of the city far below reminded him the world hadn't actually stopped. I have more, she added. Photos, audio, bank transfers. Give me till 7 p.m. I'll bring it all. Here, he asked. She nodded. This room. I'll come alone. David paused. Something inside him wavered, and then he nodded. Saffron, She turned to go, reaching for the door. He stopped her, just before she stepped out. "Anna!" She turned back. "If you're wrong, I'm not," she said softly. Then she was gone. David sat alone for a long while after she left. Her whisper replayed in his ears like a song he couldn't shake. "Don't sign. It's a trap." He looked at his reflection in the glass door, and for the first time in years, David Miller didn't recognize the man staring back. What if the person you trust least is the only one telling the truth? Chapter 2. Secrets in the Breakroom. 7:01 p.m. The fluorescent light in the breakroom buzzed faintly overhead. Outside, the city pulsed in shades of amber and steel. But in this corner of the 27th floor, time held its breath. David Miller sat at the same round table where he'd eaten stale muffins during late-night meetings, where interns whispered behind laptops and HR announcements went unread on corkboards. Now, it felt different. Now, it felt like the place where everything might start to fall apart. The door creaked. Anna Santos walked in with a backpack slung over one shoulder. Her uniform jacket zipped up tight against the autumn air. No makeup, no mask, just tired eyes and the quiet kind of bravery that doesn't ask to be seen. She didn't speak at first, just sat across from him, set her bag on the table, and unzipped it with slow hands. David watched her. He was still waiting for something to feel off about her, but all he could feel was the echo of that whisper in his chest. She took out her phone. "I'll go slow," she said softly. "I know this is hard to believe." David nodded once. Anna tapped the screen, opened a folder labeled "Listen First." It started 3 weeks ago. I was emptying trash on the executive floor. Leandro's office. I heard voices, his and a woman's. David raised an eyebrow. "Who?" She hesitated, then handed him the phone. On screen, a grainy photo, taken through a slightly open door. Tall, blonde, designer heels. David's heart dropped. "Sofia," he whispered. Anna nodded. I didn't recognize her until a few nights later, but the voice was hers. She hit play. The recording was muffled, but clear enough. "Once he signs, we'll have full control of the assets. Are you sure David suspects nothing?" David's always been too naive. He trusts the wrong people. He always has. The next line gutted him. It was true with me. It'll be true now. Sophia's voice. The same voice that used to whisper, "I love you" on winter mornings, now scheming to destroy him. David's hand curled into a fist on the table. Anna looked down. "There's more?" She showed him screenshots of wire transfers, money routed through subsidiaries with names he didn't recognize, transfer memos labeled merger prep. But the accounts were personal. 15 million, she said, pointing, from Sterling Corp to Leandro's private account. Last Thursday, David stared at it. "I never approved this." "You weren't supposed to know," she said. "You were just supposed to sign." For a long moment, he said nothing. Then finally, why am I showing you this? "Yes, you don't know me, and I have everything to lose." Anna sat back, tucking her hands between her knees to hide the shake in them. "I used to be a consultant," she said. "Corporate finance. McKinsey." David blinked. "That's top tier. I was good at it. Really good. But I didn't look the part. I asked too many questions. Got too close to numbers. They didn't want me to see. They pushed you out." She nodded. "Asked me to resign. Quietly. Told me I lacked cultural fit. It code for too brown, too direct, too poor." David leaned back, processing. She looked at him. "And now I clean floors because my sister needs surgery. And this job gives her the insurance that keeps her alive." David swallowed. "Your sister, Maria, 22, congenital heart defect. If she doesn't get a valve replacement soon." She stopped, took a breath. "That's why I can't stay quiet, even if it costs me everything." David stood and walked to the window, forehead pressed to the cold glass. I've known Leandro since we were 19, built this company with him. He was family, I know, Anna said gently, but sometimes family breaks you the worst. David turned to her. His voice was low, almost a whisper. Can I trust you? You already did, she replied, the second you dropped your pen. The silence that followed wasn't awkward. It was something else. Recognition, mutual fear, the beginning of belief. I need time. He said, I need to look deeper. Anna nodded, standing to leave. She grabbed her bag, but hesitated at the door. One more thing, she said, without turning. If you wait too long, they'll take everything. Then she was gone. David stood alone in the break room, city lights glowing behind him, and in his chest, the first real flicker of dread began to burn. What if the betrayal isn't who you fear, but who you love most? Chapter 3. A past she tried to hide. David didn't sleep that night, not because of fear, but because of doubt. Doubt in himself, in his judgment, in 15 years of friendship with Leandro Vega. At 4, he made a decision. He dressed in silence, drove through half-empty streets to the office, and went straight to human resources. The hall smelled like lemon wax and silence. Martha, the HR coordinator, looked startled to see him that early. David, is something wrong? I need to see a personnel file. Who's? He hesitated. Anna Santos, night cleaning staff. Martha blinked. Sure, I'll need your sign-off. He signed. She handed him a thin, beige folder. David opened it at the counter. The first page hit him like a gust of cold wind. Name, Ana Lucia Santos. Age, 20 year. Education, B. Business Administration, Northwestern University. Specialization, Corporate Finance. Previous position, Junior Consultant, McKinsey & Co. Years at McKinsey. Live, 5. David whispered it aloud. McKinsey, one of the most prestigious consulting firms in the country. They vetted billion-dollar mergers. He turned another page. A note from her exit interview. Employee declined to discuss reasons for departure. Cited personal family concerns. The photo clipped to the file showed a younger Anna in a navy blazer, standing in front of a whiteboard. Eyes fierce, confident. A world away from the woman he saw pushing a mop bucket. David closed the folder and handed it back. Thank you, he said to Martha, voice distant. Is everything okay, Mr. Miller? He nodded, but didn't answer, because nothing was okay, not anymore. Later that morning, he found her. She was cleaning the windows on the 12th floor, her jacket sleeves rolled up, face flushed from the October wind, blowing through the cracked pane. Anna, she turned, startled. He stepped into the room and shut the door behind him. I need to talk to you. Her eyes sharpened. Did you find something? Yeah, he said. About you. Anna stiffened. I saw your file. She said nothing. Northwestern, McKinsey, corporate finance. Anna picked up her cloth and wiped another pane of glass. You looked into me. I had to. She turned sharply. Why? Because you know things you shouldn't know, unless you were trained. And because I need to understand, how does someone like you end up here, scrubbing conference rooms? Anna stared at him, then dropped the cloth onto the sill. You really want to know? I do. She leaned against the frame, arms crossed. I got the job at McKinsey right out of school. Top 5% of my class. Outworked everyone. Outperformed my manager. But I didn't get promoted. Not once. David stayed quiet. They told me I was too blunt, not client-friendly. Didn't fit the culture. You know what that means, right? He nodded. It means I didn't look like the future face of the firm. Did you push back? Anna laughed once sharp and bitter. Of course I did. And within 3 months, I was strongly advised to resign. He quietly, with no noise. no lawsuit. And then my mom had already passed. My sister was sick. No job, no severance. So I took what I could. She picked up her rag again. Which brings us here, where the best use of my degree is knowing which chemicals won't damage tempered glass. David stepped closer. And your sister? Maria, she said. Her voice softened. She's 22. Heart valve defect. She needs surgery. It costs more than everything I've ever earned. His eyes searched hers. Why didn't you say any of this before? Anna looked at him, quiet fury in her voice. Because none of it changes what people see when they look at me. For a moment, David said nothing, then gently, I see more now. No, she replied. You see just enough to be curious, and then softer, but not enough to trust me. The wind outside whistled faintly through the broken seal in the glass. Anna reached for her supplies again. He stood there, watching her shoulders, the quiet determination in every movement. Then he whispered, You were right. About the contract. About Leandro. I found proof. She turned, eyes wide. I haven't confronted them yet. I wanted to be sure. But you were right. Anna swallowed hard. And now, David shook his head. Now, I don't know who I am anymore. She stepped closer. The rag still in one hand? Then start here, she said. Start by listening to the part of you that didn't sign yesterday. He looked at her, and for the first time since this began, he felt something close to peace. Sometimes, the most dangerous people are the ones the world refuses to believe. Chapter 4. The Betrayer's Smile. David stood at the glass wall of his office, watching the city spill toward the lake. Cars streamed like veins. Buildings blinked alive. Behind him, Leandro Vega knocked once and let himself in. Morning, he said smoothly, setting 2 coffees on the desk like it was any other day. No cream? 3 sugars. You still drink it like a child. David turned, managing a smile. Still do. Leandro sat on the edge of the desk, easy, casual, like they hadn't nearly signed away a billion-dollar company yesterday. Like his best friend hadn't disappeared for 5 minutes and come back a little less trusting. I rescheduled Sterling for Friday, Leandro said. Give us breathing room. Good, David replied. You needed the pause? Leandro said, eyes scanning him. Something felt off yesterday. I could tell. David kept his face blank. I had a headache. Leandro laughed, tossed him a small pill bottle. Advil. You're lucky to have me. David caught it, his fingers tightening on the plastic. Was that what this had always been? Luck or blindness? Listen, Leandro said, leaning in. You and I, we built this from scratch, from duct tape, Wi-Fi in a dorm basement, to offices in 3 countries. Don't let nerves get in your way now. David watched him closely, the way he smiled, the way he always had an answer, a shoulder, a fix, the way he now felt rehearsed. You trust Sterling? David asked quietly. Leandro didn't flinch. Of course, you trust Sophia. That made him pause, just enough for David to see it. She's a pro, Leandro replied, personal feelings aside. But the air shifted slightly, and David caught it, a fracture. Later that day, Anna was vacuuming outside the main boardroom when she heard the voices. She wasn't trying to eavesdrop, but some things crawl through thin walls, whether you want them to or not. You need to handle this now, Sophia whispered. I'm working on it, Leandro hissed. He's suspicious. Then get rid of her before she says more. We will, publicly, swiftly. No one will believe her. Anna's heart kicked. They were talking about her. She backed away slowly, 1 foot after another, the sound of her own breathing louder than the vacuum. An hour later, she received a text. Mandatory safety meeting. All staff report to the main auditorium. Immediately, she knew. Somehow, she already knew. The room was packed with employees from every department. Finance analysts sat next to janitors, coders beside receptionists. Confusion buzzed in the air like static. David sat near the front. He looked surprised, unprepared. Leandro walked on stage with a folder in hand and a tight expression on his face. "Thank you all for coming," he said into the mic. "This won't take long." The lights dimmed slightly. Anna stayed in the back. "Invisible." "Yesterday," Leandro began, "we discovered evidence of a serious security breach." A murmur. Photos of confidential documents, audio files, unauthorized access. Anna's stomach dropped. "In the interest of transparency." Leandro looked directly at her. "Ana Santos, please, come forward." The room turned, hundreds of eyes. David sat up straighter, his expression frozen. Anna didn't move at first, but then she walked, steady, calm, because she still had her truth, even if no one wanted it. Leandro's voice hardened. "You were found with photographs of private merger contracts. You entered executive offices outside your designated hours, and you attempted to leak that information. I tried to protect this company." She interrupted. Leandro raised his voice. "You tried to damage it. We could press charges, but instead, we're terminating your employment immediately." He nodded to security. 2 guards appeared beside her. David stood. "Wait," he said. But Leandro cut him off. "She confessed. He lied. You heard her." David hesitated. Anna's eyes locked with his. "Do something," they begged. But David's voice failed him. He sat back down. As the guards approached, Anna lifted her chin. "I can walk," she said. "I have dignity. You can't take that." She looked at David one last time. "When you find out the truth," she said, loud enough for all to hear, "remember this day. Remember, you had the chance to speak up and chose not to." And then she was gone. David remained seated as the room emptied around him. Leandro clapped his shoulder. "Tough day," he said, fake sympathy laced in his voice. David didn't speak. His mind played her words again and again, like a broken reel. "You had the chance to speak up. Sometimes, silence isn't safety. Sometimes silence is betrayal." Chapter 5. What she lost. The guards didn't grab her, but that wasn't mercy. That was theater. Because watching Ana Santos walk out of the building, on her own arms empty, pride intact, was the kind of story the company needed people to remember. She wasn't dragged out. They'd whisper later. She walked out. Must have been guilty. The oldest lie in the book. Outside, the October air bit hard. A box of belongings was placed into her hands by an older security guard who couldn't meet her eyes. "I'm sorry, Miss Santos," he mumbled. "Orders are orders." Anna nodded. "I understand." She didn't, but she said it anyway. Her phone buzzed with messages she didn't open. People asking what happened. Others pretending they didn't see. She boarded the subway and held her box close to her chest, like something fragile might break if she let it go. Inside, a photo of Maria, a coffee mug with a crack on the handle, a worn paperback she used to read on her break shifts. Her whole life at Miller Technologies reduced to 10 pounds of silence. By the time she reached the apartment in Pilsen, Maria was watching a game show with the volume too low to hear. "Hey," Maria smiled. "You're home early." Anna stood in the doorway, the box still in her arms. "Oh," Maria added, "did your shift get cut?" Anna set the box down gently on the floor. Her voice was steady. "No, baby, I got fired." She told her everything. The warning, the evidence, the accusation, the auditorium. Maria sat with wide eyes and a hand pressed to her chest. "But you were helping him," she said. "I know, and he just let them do that to you." Anna's throat tightened. "Yes." That night, while Maria slept, Anna sat on the apartment balcony wrapped in an old blanket. Chicago blinked and breathed around her. Somewhere downtown, David Miller was probably pouring a glass of whiskey, still trying to pretend this hadn't happened. Somewhere, Leandro and Sophia were planning what came next. And here she was, alone, unemployed, with her sister's life hanging by a thread. She had done the right thing, and it had cost her everything. The next morning, Anna stood in line at a staffing agency near Halstead. She filled out a form that asked her to list skills she was confident in. She wrote, fluent in corporate finance, expert in contract law, can scrub blood off elevator tile without leaving a mark. The receptionist took her photo, stapled it to a flimsy file, and told her someone would call eventually. Anna didn't hold her breath. That afternoon, the hospital called. Her heart nearly stopped. Dr. Rodriguez's voice was warm. Miss Santos, I have good news. Maria's surgery has been approved. Anna blinked. What? A medical aid program. The full amount is covered. I didn't apply for anything. Sometimes the hospital does, he said kindly. What matters is Maria can get the surgery. Tears slipped down her cheeks before she could stop them. Thank you, she whispered. No, the doctor said. Thank whoever fought for you behind the scenes. She hung up, sat down, covered her mouth, because in her heart, she knew it was him. David, the same man who watched her walk out without saying a word, was still trying quietly, secretly, to make it right, and that made it hurt more. That night, as Maria slept soundly for the first time in weeks, Anna sat on the edge of her bed, hands folded. She whispered into the dark, I don't regret what I did. I only regret that he didn't stand beside me when it counted. What do you do when doing the right thing costs you everything and no one claps? Chapter 6. The One Who Stayed. David didn't sleep the night she was fired, not because of what Leandro said, but because of what he didn't. He kept hearing her voice in the auditorium, cracked, but clear. You had the chance to speak up, and you chose not to. That sentence, it didn't stab. It settled inside his chest, like grief that wouldn't leave. By 3:00 M.U. He was pacing his apartment. The city outside was asleep, but his thoughts were loud. He kept seeing her face, the way her fingers trembled as she handed him evidence, the way she stood so still when security approached, the way she looked at him, asking him, and he turned away. At 4:30, he pulled out the flash drive. Everything she gave him, every file, every recording was there. He opened it all. This time, he didn't look as a CEO. He looked as a man who owed someone the truth. By dawn, the sun cut gold across the skyline, and David Miller knew two things. Leandro Vega was going to steal everything. Ana Santos was the only person who had tried to stop it, and he had let her walk away for it. At 8:00, he called Sterling Corp and canceled the merger meeting. Personal emergency, he said. The man on the other end sounded confused. David didn't care. He had a different emergency now. By 9:30, he was standing in front of a small, peeling building on Lincoln Street. There's Yobixo Zbapars apartment 2B. He hadn't been to this part of Chicago in years. The stairwell smelled like cheap paint and fried food. But this was where Anna lived, where she had come back to after being humiliated in front of hundreds. He knocked. Footsteps. A pause. Then the door opened, barely. A chain held it tight. Anna stood behind it. No makeup. Hair in a bun. Eyes red but dry. When she saw him, she didn't flinch. What do you want? She asked. I need to talk to you, he said. Why? So you can lie to my face without an audience. David closed his eyes. I deserve that. Yes, she said. You do. From inside the apartment, a voice called, Anna. Who is it? A younger woman, faint, fragile. Anna sighed and loosened the chain. Come in, she said. But 5 minutes. That's all. Inside, it was small but spotless. Clean walls, worn couch, a coffee table stacked with medical brochures and unopened mail. Maria, appeared from a side room, walking slow, but smiling. "You must be David," she said. David was surprised. "You know me. Anna talks about you all the time," Maria said. "Well, she used to." Anna blushed and gently steered her sister back to the room. "Go rest," she said. "I'll bring you tea in a minute." When she returned, David was standing beside the window, hands in his coat pockets. "I found everything," he said. "You were right. About all of it." "I know," she replied, arms crossed. "I also know I failed you." Anna didn't speak. "I wanted to believe Leandro was still the man I built everything with," David said, voice low. "But that's no excuse. I saw your truth, and I still let you fall." "You didn't let me fall," she whispered. "You pushed me." That broke him. "I came here to tell you I'm sorry," he said. "Not because I want your forgiveness, but because I don't want to pretend I earned it." Anna looked at him carefully. "And what now?" she asked. "You tell me I was right, and everything's okay." "No," he said. "Nothing is okay, but I'm going to make it right." "How?" David stepped forward, opened his briefcase, and laid out copies of the forged contracts, the transfer files, and the hidden ownership documents. "I'm exposing them," he said. "Leandro, Sofia, Sterling, all of them." "Good," Anna said, but her voice was guarded. "I want you to help me," he said. Anna blinked. "Why me?" "Because you're the only person who didn't lie to me." She looked at the papers, then back at him. "And if I say no, then I'll understand," he said. "But I'll still do it. I'll still tell the truth." Anna walked to the kitchen, poured tea with steady hands. "Then, Maria's surgery was approved yesterday." David's heart leapt. "That's incredible." Anna raised an eyebrow. "I didn't apply for aid." He said nothing. "Was it you?" He nodded once. "I asked the hospital to make it anonymous." She held the tea, not drinking it. "I don't need charity," she said. "It wasn't charity," he replied. "It was a debt and a beginning." The silence between them softened. The anger didn't vanish, but it cracked. "I'll help you," she said finally, "but not for you. For Maria." "No," Anna said. "For myself. So I never forget who I am." David nodded. "That's fair." Before he left, she walked him to the door. "David," she said, before he stepped out. He turned. "You didn't speak for me when it mattered," she said, "but you came back." "I had to," he said. "Why?" He hesitated. Then, simply because you're the only one who stayed when it wasn't easy. Sometimes, the only way to fix a broken thing is to stand beside the one who already knew it was broken. Chapter 7. The Woman Who Sees Me. It was supposed to be a strategy meeting. That's what David told himself when he picked Anna up that Sunday morning and drove 2 hours out of Chicago toward the edge of Lake Geneva. "I thought we were going over legal plans," Anna said, buckling her seatbelt. "We are," David replied, eyes on the road. "But I also thought you deserved to breathe." "I breathe fine," she said. But she didn't say no. The trees were changing. Wisconsin maples, glowing red, orange, gold like fire, remembering how to soften. They didn't speak much. David glanced at her once as she looked out the window, hair brushing her cheek in the morning wind. Her face was still unreadable, but not cold, just watchful. They arrived at a narrow gravel road that led to a lake house, not modern, not massive, but worn and personal, like something that still belonged to a boy. David parked in silence. Anna stepped out and stared at the wraparound porch, the cracked swing, the rusted tin mailbox with Miller still barely legible. "This is where I grew up," he said. "Well, summers, you still come here?" she asked. "Only when I forget who I am." She looked at him for a long time, then walked slowly toward the porch. Inside, it smelled like cedar and dust. A family photo hung on the wall, young David between two older parents. his mother's hand resting on his shoulder. "Your mom?" Anna asked. He nodded. "She died right before the IPO. She used to make pancakes here every Sunday." Anna studied the photo. "You look happy." I was, before everything turned gold. They sat in the sunroom, warm mugs in hand. Anna sipped her tea. "Why did you bring me here?" David leaned back, his voice distant. "Because you were right about Leandro. And I didn't want to tell you that in an office." She said nothing. "I wanted to tell you here," he continued, "where I can still remember who I was before the company, before Sophia, before I started confusing ambition with worth." Anna stirred her tea slowly. "What happened to you?" He looked at her, and for the first time, told the truth. "My father was never kind," he said. "He thought softness was weakness. When I cried, he'd tell me to go outside and come back when I was a man." Anna listened. Leandro was the first friend who didn't laugh at me for being quiet, for not drinking, for reading spreadsheets like novels. He smiled, but it was a tired smile. And Sophia, she made me feel seen. For a while, Anna looked out at the lake, and when they both betrayed you, David exhaled. "I stopped trusting anyone." He paused. "Until you." Silence lingered, warm, honest. Anna leaned forward. "Do you know why I kept showing up after you ignored my warnings?" "Why?" "Because I saw you." David looked at her, surprised. "You think you hide it?" she said. "The fear, the grief, the way your eyes search for safety before you enter any room." He blinked. "But I recognized it," Anna continued, "because I walk through rooms the same way." Outside, the wind picked up. Leaves scattered across the porch like whispered memories. David swallowed. "I didn't want you to see that version of me." "I didn't ask to," she said softly. "But once I did, I couldn't look away." They stayed like that for a while. Two people in a forgotten house, drinking tea, like it could fix something. When they left that afternoon, David stopped at the edge of the porch. "Anna," she turned, waiting. "Do you believe in second chances?" he asked. "I believe in earned ones," she said, then smiled a small, reluctant smile. "But you're doing the work." And with that, she stepped into his passenger seat without hesitation. There's a kind of love that begins the moment someone sees the version of you you've spent your whole life hiding. Chapter 8. Breaking the Promise. David stood in front of the boardroom window, watching the clouds roll over Chicago like they were keeping secrets. It was 9:00 a.m. The Sterling Corporation contract sat on the table, unsigned, but waiting, always waiting. He ran a hand through his hair, eyes heavy from another sleepless night. The evidence Anna had collected was damning. The documents, the audio files, the threats. It was enough to bury Leandro and Sophia, enough to save the company, but not without consequences, not without putting Anna and Maria directly in the crosshairs. His phone buzzed. "Leandro, we know what you're doing. Choose wisely, or she pays the price." Attached was a photo. Anna and Maria walking out of a clinic, smiling. But in the corner, a man in a beige coat stood too still, too close. David's stomach dropped. An hour later, Anna entered his office. She wore a navy blazer over her usual jeans. Professional, quietly powerful. She looked ready. "Are we doing this?" she asked. David didn't answer right away. He turned from the window and forced a smile. "There's been a change of plans." Her eyes narrowed. "What kind of change?" "We need to delay the exposure. Just a few more days." "No," she said immediately. "They'll move, destroy records, disappear." "I know," he replied, voice tight, "but it's too dangerous right now." "David." Anna stepped forward, her voice trembling with something between fear and rage. "What did they say to you?" He shook his head. "Nothing that matters. Don't lie to me." His voice rose. "I'm trying to protect you." She flinched, and he hated himself for it. Anna stared at him, breath shallow. "I risked everything," she whispered. "I lost everything." and now you're backing down. I'm buying time, he said, trying to steady himself. No, she said. You're breaking your promise. She turned to leave. Anna, wait. She stopped at the door, but didn't turn around. I thought you were different, she said. I am, he said quietly. Then why are you making the same coward's choice every man before you made? David's voice cracked. Because I can't lose you. You already did. The door shut softly behind her, and David Miller collapsed into his chair, staring at the contract, his hands shaking. That night, Anna packed a small bag and left the city with Maria. No note, no goodbye, just silence. David didn't go after her. Because love, when fueled by fear, becomes a weapon, and he couldn't risk being her enemy. But alone in his penthouse, surrounded by polished floors and floor-to-ceiling regret, David realized the truth. She hadn't just brought evidence. She had brought him back to himself. And now, he had sent her away. The hardest promises to keep are the ones made to someone who believes in you more than you believe in yourself. Chapter 9. The letter he never sent. The world didn't end when Anna left. But for David, it stopped turning. He signed nothing. He spoke to no one. He canceled the merger in silence and told Leandro he needed space. That space became a vacuum. That vacuum became a storm. For 3 days, he didn't leave the penthouse. The curtains stayed closed. The coffee pot stayed empty. And in the quiet, David did the one thing he hadn't done since his mother died. He wrote not contracts, not statements, not rebuttals, a letter to Anna. He never meant to send it. He never even sealed it, but he wrote it in longhand, on paper that still smelled faintly of ink and dust. It began like this. Dear Anna, I don't know where you are right now. I don't even know if you'd want to read this, but I need to write it because there are some truths that hurt more when they stay silent. When you walked out of that auditorium, I didn't lose an employee. I lost the only person who ever looked at me like I was more than a suit. And when I didn't defend you, it wasn't because I didn't believe you. It was because I was scared of how much I did. You weren't a threat to my company, and you were a mirror, and I didn't like what I saw in myself. He paused there. Tears were close, but he kept going. You reminded me who I used to be. Before Leandro, before Sophia, before I thought kindness was a liability, I watched you walk through fire with more dignity than I've ever shown in a boardroom. And I stayed seated. I stayed silent, but not anymore. He folded the letter once, set it on the table beside her photo, the one Maria had posted online during a fundraiser. Anya, in a cheap white blouse, holding Maria's hand and smiling at a bake sale like she owned the world. David touched the edge of the photo. I'm sorry, he whispered, but I'm going to fix this, even if I never see you again. That night, he emailed a digital copy of the forged documents to the SEC. He submitted an anonymous tip to a business reporter at the Chicago Ledger. And then he slept for the first time in days. His body finally gave out on the couch, under a blanket that still smelled like the lake house. The next morning, Anna returned to the city, not for David, for Maria's post-op appointments. But as she walked past the newsstand, something stopped her. A headline, "Billion-dollar betrayal, Sterling, Vega under federal investigation." She froze, flipped open the paper, read every line. Insider sources say the company's CEO declined to sign a pending merger after uncovering fraudulent assets. Whistleblower remains unnamed, but sources confirm leaked audio recordings, bank transfers, and tampered documents. She stood there on the sidewalk, people passing, her chest rising and falling with something that hurt more than anger, hope. That night, Maria found a torn envelope on the kitchen counter. Inside was a letter, no stamp, no return address. But Maria smiled. She recognized the handwriting. She handed it to Anna, who hesitated, then read. She read it twice. By the third time, she was crying, not because it was perfect, but because it wasn't. It was messy, uneven, honest, full of guilt and ache and love. He never dared say out loud, "You were a mirror. You walked through fire. Even if I never see you again." Anna folded the letter quietly and placed it in the drawer next to Maria's heart medication. Some things didn't need a reply. Some things just needed to be heard. Some of the most important things we ever say are the ones we're most afraid to send. Chapter 10. The Wedding in the Wind. Autumn in Chicago came early that year. The wind off Lake Michigan turned cold before the leaves had time to fully turn. But on one gusty Saturday, beneath a sky painted in soft silver clouds, David Miller stood on the pier at North Avenue Beach, waiting. He wore no tie, no press, no bodyguards, just a soft navy coat, a ring box in his pocket, and hope pressed into every heartbeat. Anna hadn't answered his last message. She hadn't needed to, not after the headlines, not after Leandro and Sophia were arrested, not after the board of Miller Technologies unanimously named her vice president of operations. David hadn't asked for forgiveness. He had earned something else, her quiet trust. The breeze picked up. David looked out at the lake, waves tossing like applause in slow motion. "Do you remember," said a voice behind him, "when you told me I was the only one who stayed?" He turned. She was there, hair pinned back, long burgundy coat, eyes more steady than soft. David took a breath. "You came," Anna smiled. "You didn't just fix the company. I didn't do it alone." "I know," she said, "but you stood up this time." They walked together toward the edge of the pier. "Maria's doing well," Anna said. "The doctors say she's stronger than they expected." "I'm not surprised," David replied. "She's your sister." Anna looked at him sideways. "That's the nicest thing you've ever said to me. I haven't even started." He stopped walking, turned to her, pulled a small velvet box from his pocket. "Wait," Anna said, a nervous laugh escaping. "Is this—" "I told you once," he said, "that you saw the parts of me no one else could." He opened the box. A ring. Simple, timeless. "I don't want to build another empire," he said. "I want to build a home. With you. One that doesn't need gold ceilings to be worth anything." Anna stared at the ring. The wind caught her hair, pulling a strand loose across her cheek. "David," she whispered, "you don't have to do this." "I know," he said, "but I want to." A tear slipped down her cheek. She didn't wipe it, just nodded, soft. "Certain, yes." He placed the ring on her finger. It fit perfectly. The wind howled, but they stayed right there, on the edge of everything, holding each other. Two people who had learned love doesn't rescue, it rebuilds. 3 weeks later, beneath the glass canopy of the Lincoln Park Conservatory, Anna walked down the aisle with Maria at her side. Only 30 guests. No press, no headlines, just the people who mattered. David stood waiting, wearing the same soft smile he once wore as a boy at the lake house. And when Anna reached him, she whispered, "This time, I'm the one who sees you." Their vows weren't grand. They were true. David promised never to silence truth again. Anna promised to let love be enough, even when power tried to steal the stage. When they kissed, Maria clapped first, then everyone followed. Later, as the sun dipped behind the skyline, David and Anna stood alone by the greenhouse window. She leaned into him. "You know," she said, "this isn't the kind of story people believe." He smiled. "Good. That makes it ours. Love doesn't always arrive wrapped in roses. Sometimes it enters holding a trash can and whispers the truth you were never brave enough to face on your own." The cleaning lady who saved a billionaire. If you ever walk past Miller Technologies today, you'll see her name on the executive directory. Anna Santos, Vice President of Operations. But what you won't see is how she got there. You won't see the day she pushed a trash cart into a boardroom just in time to stop a billion-dollar betrayal. You won't see the moment she whispered, "Don't sign, it's a trap," and walked out like she hadn't just changed everything. You won't see the heartbreak, the betrayal, the moment she stood alone in front of hundreds and was called a thief because she told the truth, or the man who let it happen. But if you look closely, you'll notice something different about the company now. The cleaning staff wears uniforms with their names stitched in gold. The executive lunchroom serves the same arroz con huevos Anna used to bring from home for Maria. And David Miller, the CEO once known for silence, now opens every meeting by asking, "Who's not in this room?" That should be, because some lessons change the way you lead forever. As for David and Anna, they still live in the same apartment on Lincoln Street. Yes, they could afford more now. But home isn't made of glass and marble. It's made of warmth, of second chances, of someone who sees your worst mistake and still chooses to stay. On their anniversary, David leaves a note for Anna on the bathroom mirror. Just 6 words. "Thank you for whispering the truth." She reads it while brushing her teeth, smiles, and whispers back to no one, "Thank you for finally listening." Because in the end, this was never the story of a poor cleaning lady and a billionaire CEO. It was always the story of a man who lost his way and the woman brave enough to light the path home. What did you think of this story? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Rate it from 0 to 10. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss a story. And stay tuned. More powerful stories are waiting for you right here. Leave a comment below. Tell us, what would you whisper to someone who's about to lose everything? And if you believe in love, that starts quietly, that grows in silence, that changes everything without needing to shout. Then the next story we share will go even deeper. Subscribe for more true love stories, dramatic storytelling, and endings that heal. We'll see you in the next one.